What's up, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Francisco, and today I want to talk to you about probably one of the best mid-tier microphones out right now for content creators. $200 dynamic USB and XLR microphone. That is, of course, the Rode Podmic USB. Let's go. When you buy the Rode Podmic USB in the box, of course, you're going to go ahead and get the actual Rode Podmic USB microphone. You're also going to have an included windscreen for the microphone itself. This guy right here is fantastic, by the way, and unfortunately, Rode does not sell it separately as of right now. The only way to get this windscreen is by purchasing the Rode Podmic USB or the Rode XDM100 dynamic USB microphone. You're also going to get a very lengthy USB-C to USB-C cable for the USB connectivity of the microphone itself. In regards to build quality, the Rode Podmic USB is probably one of the best built microphones out there at its price point. It's a $200 dynamic USB and XLR microphone. This thing looks identical to the original Podmic. It's built just as well, and I believe it has the same exact dimensions. About the only difference between the two is that for some reason, the Rode Podmic USB is technically lighter than the original Podmic, but don't be fooled because this thing does have some heft to it. So if you're going to use it on a boom arm, it's not extravagantly heavy, but I have a feeling that if you're using a cheap Amazon style boom arm, you might have some issues. So make sure that you're using a solid quality boom arm to put this microphone on it so it can support the weight of the microphone itself. One of the main differences, because there's a few. One of the main differences between the original Podmic and the Podmic USB, of course, is that we have an all black finish here. On the rear of the microphone, of course, we've got a XLR port right here at the bottom. We have the USB-C port over here. And on the other side, we also have the headset port for your headsets so that you can connect to the microphone so you can, do real-time monitoring and listen to your audio. And we do have a volume wheel. This is a volume wheel for your headset out, not for your gain. And oddly enough, if you push the wheel in, you can mute your microphone. You push it again to unmute it. Overall, as far as build's concerned, this is a very solid build of a microphone. For 200 bucks, I don't think they could have done any better. So one of the big differences between the original Rode Podmic, which is just an XLR only microphone, and the Rode Podmic USB is of course the USB connectivity of the microphone. But not only that, the Rode Podmic USB also has an onboard digital signal processor, or a DSP, which is built into the microphone itself. This allows users to connect the microphone via USB directly to their computer or their mobile devices and able to process the sound of the microphone and save it directly to the microphone itself, okay? So if you're on computer, for example, you're able to use programs such as Rode Unify and Rode Connect to do all this processing using Rode's Aphex processors, which are pretty solid. And there's a whole video I did separately on this. They're pretty solid. If you want to know more about my feelings on that, you can watch that video and also walk you through how to set up the whole thing. But they're pretty solid. They get the job done, right? The cool thing is that through this software, you're able to set things like the gain, compression, noise gate, and some other aural exciters, if you will, for the microphone itself. And you close the program out and everything is saved directly into the microphone at that point. Now, you're also able to use this as a true blue USB microphone without the need of Rode Connect or Rode Unify. As a matter of fact, my preferred method of using the Rode Podmic USB when I'm using it as a USB microphone is, of course, through my Elgato Wavelink software. But the one thing that I actually haven't had a chance to test out just yet is the headset performance of the microphone, because I've got some really high-end headsets and I've got some, not so high-end ones. So let's see how it performs, specifically a Joe Schmo headset versus my Beyerdynamic DT770 Pros, which of course requires some juice to power. Let's go. All right, so I went in and hooked up my Razer Kyra X to the back of the Rode Podmic USB here. Figure let's play a little bit of Final Fantasy just to get an idea of how it sounds. Now, this is a relatively inexpensive headset, and so far I'm getting some excellent sound from the microphone itself, or rather from the DSP in relation to the game. Nothing too disappointing, nothing unexpected here. Crystal clear sound. I'm hearing a lot of good detail. So I don't think anybody's going to have any issues when it comes to running any sort of run-of-the-mill, not high-end headsets. But the real test is running something a little bit more high-end. So let's switch over to my DT770 Pros. Okay, and now in this instance, I've gone ahead and swapped over to my Beyerdynamic DT770 Pros. Traditionally speaking, when I plug these in, for example, through my Elgato Wave XLR, I have to turn on high impedance mode. However, this is working magnificently so far. This might be overkill, but screw it. The rapper deserves it. Anyways, yeah, this sounds fantastic. Like, this little guy right here is packing one hell of a punch. And, you know, this is probably the most high-end headset that I own right now, and it is delivering some exceptional sound. And it's not all on the DSP and the internals of the microphone. Of course, it has a lot to do with the headset itself, but again, when I've used this headset through the Elgato Wave XLR, I usually have to turn on high impedance mode, otherwise it just doesn't crank out enough juice to really get the audio that this headset is capable of delivering. Now, in regards to this microphone's ability to handle noise and plosives, let's go ahead and test a couple of those things out, because being that it is a dynamic microphone, it should be able to handle noise rejection better than a condenser microphone would, for example. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the off-axis rejection test. Right now, this is what the microphone would sound like if you're speaking directly into the capsule to the front of the microphone, or rather the top of the microphone. If I were to go ahead and turn the microphone to my right, facing that way, this is exactly what the microphone would sound like, and this is about how much noise it would pick up. If I turned a microphone facing the opposite direction, then this is the result that you would get. I wonder how much noise it's picking up. I can't really tell, but I'll know once I start editing the video. And just for shiggles, let's just pretend I'm aiming the microphone that way, because I have no idea what part of the microphone I'm supposed to speak into. I mean, the XLR cable is right here. Why wouldn't I speak into this part of the microphone? This is what it would sound like as far as rejecting any noise coming from directly behind the microphone and or behind the capsule. Okay, and for this test, I've gone ahead and turned off the Elgato noise removal VST plugin, which basically kind of helps eliminate a lot of all the other external noise I've got going on in my room. It's completely off. I've got the gain set at about 40 decibels of gain when it's connected via XLR to my Elgato Wave XLR audio interface. I'm going to be quiet. Let's see how much the microphone can pick up on its own. And for all intents and purposes, let's pretend you're in the middle of a very awesome game. You're just kicking ass, you're getting really excited, and you accidentally start hitting things that are connected to your microphone, and you want to see and wonder how this microphone does in regards to handling shock absorption and impact. This is kind of how it does. I'm not really sure because I haven't tested it, so I'm not going to know until I start editing the video. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Last but certainly not least, let's see how this microphone does in handling plosives. Peter Piper packed a pick of pickled peppers. Peter Piper packed a pick of pickled peppers. And now, without the windscreen, Peter Piper packed a pick of pickled peppers. Peter Piper packed a pick of Pikachu. In regard to sound, one of my favorite things about the Rode Podmic and the Rode Podmic USB is that this microphone, both microphones, I'm sorry, are designed to be EQ'd. The reason that works in favor of the microphone is the same reason why this works in favor of you, the user. Every person's voice is unique and different from one person to the next. Because this microphone is designed to be EQ'd, you can achieve just about any type of sound you want from the microphone as long as you put in a little bit of work with EQ. And if that's an intimidating process for you, or you're not really sure how to start, don't worry. I did release a video recently on how to set up the Rode Podmic USB with the Rode Connect application and with Wavelink, and I also do walk you through my EQ process. So if you have some trouble with that, feel free to check out the video. You'll find it very helpful. At the end of the day, when it comes to sound though, I think this microphone sounds great. But the microphone sounds great not because it sounds great on its own, which you'll hear here in just a second. It sounds great because you can make it sound great, which the more power I think we have, the better off we are. Now, let's go ahead and compare the microphone and see what it sounds like compared to my Lewitt LCT240 Pro, which is a condenser XLR microphone. And of course, we're going to compare it to my Shure SM7B. Kind of give you an idea of where the microphone stands in regard to two different spectrums of pricing. The Lewitt LCT240 Pro, you can find it as cheap as about $130. And of course, the Shure SM7B is a $400 microphone. So let's check it out. All right, ladies and gents, so this is the Rode Podmic USB running through my Elgato Wave XLR connected via the XLR connection, of course. I do have it running through Wavelink with a couple of VST plugins turned on, and this is what the microphone would sound like in that instance. I'm going to go ahead and turn all that stuff off so you can hear what the microphone would sound like plug and play with nothing helping it. And now, ladies and gents, what you're listening to is the Rode Podmic USB with all my VSTs turned off. We're still running it via XLR through the Elgato Wave XLR audio interface, and this is what the microphone would sound like if you plugged it in that manner with no VSTs to support it. All right, ladies and gents, so this is the Rode Podmic USB connected to my computer via USB running through the Elgato Wavelink software. I do have VSTs turned on. I've got Elgato EQ, Elgato noise removal, and Reaper compression turned on, and this is what the microphone would sound like in this manner. Now let's go ahead and turn off the VSTs and see what this microphone sounds like. Plug and play. All right, ladies and gents, and this is now the Rode Podmic USB with all VSTs turned off, running through the Elgato Wavelength software. This is what the Rode Podmic USB would sound like should you plug it in directly to your computer via USB with no additional processing and no VSTs in use. All right, ladies and gents, this is the Lewitt LC-T240 Pro, one of my personal favorite microphones of all time. This is a condenser XLR microphone. It is running through my Elgato Wave XLR interface through Wavelength with VSTs turned on, and this is what it would sound like with a little bit of help. Now let's go ahead and hear what it sounds like with no help at all. And now what you're listening to, ladies and gentlemen, is the Lewitt LC-T240 Pro. All VST plugins are turned off. We're still running it through the Elgato Wave XLR via Wavelength, but all the VSTs are off. This is what the mic would sound like if you plugged it into your interface and directly to your computer with no help whatsoever, organically, all natural. I love this microphone. This microphone is fantastic, by the way. If you're looking for a solid condenser microphone at an amazing price, you need to check this one out. All right, ladies and gents, and last but certainly not least, this is the Shure SM7B Dynamic XLR microphone, legendary microphone. Everyone and her mom has one apparently. That includes me too. It is running through the Elgato Wave XLR audio interface through the Wavelength software with VSTs turned on. This is what this microphone would sound like with a little bit of help. And what you're listening to now is to the Shure SM7B with all the VSTs turned off, no compression, no EQ, and no noise removal. This is what the microphone would sound like if you plugged it into your audio interface of choice, that plugged into your computer. This is the organic sound, au naturel, if you will, with no help whatsoever. This is what this sounds like. As much as I love the build and the sound of the Rode Podmic USB, my two favorite things about this microphone are its versatility and its functionality. When we talk about the versatility of the microphone, it's a USB and an XLR microphone. This is great for anybody who is thinking about eventually upgrading their microphone setup to an XLR setup, but don't want to commit necessarily to the expense that it's going to require. You're going to have to buy the microphone. You're going to need to buy an audio interface. You might potentially even have to buy yourself an inline microphone preamp. By the way, this one doesn't need that, so please don't spend your money on a preamp for the Rode Podmic USB because you don't need it. So you buy the Rode Podmic USB, you're able to use it as a USB microphone, and then once you're ready to upgrade to the XLR gear or equipment, you can then do that and you already have an XLR microphone. Obviously, it being a USB microphone makes it very versatile because you can use it on just about any PC out there. If you're on the go, going to different podcasts, you just take the microphone, you take your USB cable, and you can pretty much set up anywhere. And the good news is that all the processing you've done on the Rode Connect app or on Rode Unified is saved to the microphone itself, so you can take your voice anywhere. But what has really impressed me more than anything else is its functionality. You can use this on computer, XLR USB, we've covered that. What really has me very impressed about this microphone is that you can also use it on a mobile device. Right now, what you're watching and what you're listening to is me using the Rode Podmic USB, recording this whole segment on my Samsung S23 Ultra, all right? And it's so easy to use, it's not even funny. You literally plug the USB cable into the back end of the microphone here, and you plug in the other end of your USB cable to your mobile device. I'm using Android, so the other end is a USB-C, works great. If you're using iOS or iPhone, you might need a lightning adapter, and those are pretty easy to find, and they work just as well because I've also tested it in that manner too. If you're using iPhone, and you want to say record things like TikToks, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, you're going to have to download the Rode Capture app, all right, which basically does the exact same thing I'm doing here on my Android. It just records video and audio, and you can upload that to CapCut, edit it, and put it out wherever you want. On Android, thankfully, it's a lot more simpler. There's one less app to download. You just download the Rode Connect app so you can do any of your processing for the microphone there. And then you simply open up your camera app and start recording. It automatically detects the microphone and automatically starts picking up the audio from the microphone itself. I can't think of any microphone that brings functionality to the table like the Rode Podmic USB does. And it's incredible. I love it. It's made my life so much easier because now if I want to make short form content, I don't have to use my computer for it anymore. I can use my phone and still get great audio. Let's move on. In conclusion, at the end of it all, for $200, this is probably one of the best mid-tier microphones. This microphone, even though I would consider it to be mid-tier in regards to pricing, it punches above its weight in a lot of different areas. Okay, number one, it's incredibly well built. Number two, I think this microphone's ability, and more importantly, its flexibility when it comes to its sound, because it's designed to be EQ'd, really makes this microphone appeal to a large amount of people, just about anybody, because if you know what you're doing, or if you're willing to spend a little bit of time learning how to EQ, you can get amazing audio quality out of this microphone. Number three, This is like the most important and the most like, this is the biggest win that this microphone has, is its versatility and its functionality. You can use this as an XLR microphone. You can use this as a USB microphone. And not only can you use this on your computer, you can also use this on your mobile devices. Nowadays, in a world when we have platforms like TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, there's a lot of content creators, a lot of you out there that are making content for those platforms. And the ability to just take this microphone, take a cable, connect it to your mobile device, you can make your content on the go and have great audio quality. I'm surprised this microphone costs $200. To be very frank with you, I would have expected this now to cost about $250, maybe even $300. And even at the $300 price point, I would probably almost still justify the price point at that point, because how much you are able to do with this microphone for so little money. I mean, $200 is it's a bit of money, but they could have easily charged a whole lot more. Great build, great sound, versatile, a lot of functionality, great price. This is a fantastic microphone. I recommend this to anybody out there. If you are a up and coming new creator and you're looking to upgrade your microphone, get the Rode Podmic USB. If you are a content creator who's looking into getting a higher quality microphone, but you don't want to commit to an XLR setup just yet, get the Rode Podmic USB, because then inevitably when you're ready to commit to an XLR setup, you've already got yourself an XLR microphone. And if you're a new content creator or you're making content on the go on mobile platforms like TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and you need a solid microphone option to make great quality content with great quality audio, this is it. This is it. So if you need my stamp of approval, you've got it. This microphone's fantastic. If I didn't have my Shure SM7B, if I didn't have my Lewitt LCT240 Pro, and this was the only microphone I had, I think I would not be even bothered with looking at any other microphones, because this is such a well-rounded and fantastic microphone. Ladies and gents, hope you enjoyed the review. Thank y'all for hanging out. Y'all have a great day. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. Peace out.